Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accent.
Oh!
You sure are.
Wow, that was gorgeous.
That was pretty good.
Welcome to the show, Stephen Ray Morris.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Our favorite person in the world.
Our cat partner in crime.
I know.
and
I've got one lane. I got a loaf lane next to me right now.
Oh, she's
Loafer.
perfect. I love her so much. Ray's behind me, too.
The only thing behind me is a cloud of menstrual farts that I've just been filling my office with. And let's just say I can taste what I had for lunch today.
Fucking gross.
It's growing sentient. It's sentient.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a sentient cloud.
Something's happening down there. So,
Holy shit. That was
Yeah.
gross.
It means you're alive.
yeah.
You're living.
Yep. If you could taste it, you're living.
Your biomes are in
My
full working order.
They're working too hard. Like,
Too
they're
hard.
slow
too
down.
healthy.
It's not whatever this is. It's not healthy. Absolutely fucking not.
Oh my God.
man.
I am so excited to have Steven back on our show. You
It's
joined
been a
us
minute.
for Cat Crimes,
It
which
has
was
been
a
a
while
minute.
ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. It
I know.
has
was
been.
that?
I can't even. Was that 2019? 2018?
Either 2018 or 2019.
I think it was before the pandemic.
Oh boy.
A lifetime ago.
Yeah, a
Another
lifetime ago.
world.
We've grown. We've lived. We've loved.
We farted.
We farted.
Who are you as a person now on the other side?
Oh,
like,
I
what are
don't
you
like this
doing?
question.
Fully
Project?
transformed into my cat. That's
Yeah.
basically it.
I am Penny Lane.
Yes. It would be like one of those like horrible sketches where it's just my cat's face with my mouth, like, you know.
It's like
cut
an
out.
Animorphs.
Yeah,
Like
fully.
the third stage of Animorphs.
I honestly feel like
Those
we've
are
lived
so
through
rough.
the Andalite War, whatever was going
definitely
on in
have.
those
We-
books as growing
Yeah,
up as a
we've
kid.
lived through the one where they're ants and they have like no free will and then they have to like drown themselves or something crazy.
Yes,
It's
oh my
a really
gosh.
disturbing scene.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get that far into the series.
Oh, it got dark. It got really dark, especially
Really
like
dark.
the animal urges taking over and like they're fighting themselves.
Oh.
And then like
I've-
their parents got like invaded by the Yerks. Okay, I
Yep.
know
Oh
too
my
much.
God. No, I
Yep.
need to know more about this. Well, Amanda just read the whole series
Almost.
recently.
Right.
I read a lot of them. I didn't finish it. There's like 67 or 68 books in the
Yeah.
series. It's a commitment.
So
It
reading
ended
it
on an odd
one
number,
chapter
too.
at a time is a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Impressive.
Stephen,
was.
do you want to introduce yourself quick? Give you yourself a little quick bio.
Your spiel.
Ooh, my bio.
Who are you? He doesn't even
Steve-
go here.
He doesn't even go here.
Hi, class. I am the new kid in school. Stephen Ray Morris, my favorite murder, audio engineer, editor, all that good stuff. Exactly right.
He is
Purrrcast,
the
obviously.
Steven that they're always
Yes.
complaining about.
People
Yeah.
yelling
He's-
my name.
Steven
and-
inspired John. Steven walked so John could run.
Oh, yes. I'm so proud.
We have a Steven
I
too.
love you,
and-
John.
And it's John, yeah.
John is our Steven. Oh my God. He needs
Pour
a
one out,
raise.
but not really because I don't want to pour it on my computer.
Don't pour out coffee.
But yes, Purrrcast co-host as well. I also do a Jurassic Park podcast, See Jurassic Right. That's pretty much it. That's all I do.
You're
Podcasting.
all over the fucking place.
That's plenty. You do plenty.
Also a cat dad to
Yes.
Penny Lane, the one
here?
and only.
Who's ignoring us right now?
She's snoozing
would.
behind you, and she's so precious. Little orange marmalade.
Oh, she's my little creamsicle, my little 50-50 bar.
Oh, my God.
Stop.
Get out.
I love her.
Look at her. Oh, she's so cute. Okay,
She's
anyway.
tilting your head upside down. We're not going to be able to get through this episode. She's
So
too
all
cute.
listeners can tell why Steven and I are fucking soulmates.
Yep.
And I'm Lucy.
And I'm Amanda. And you
And
know us because
there
you're
we
here.
go. And
Yep.
today we have a very special fan pick that Stephen was kind enough to join us for. This fan picker was Lily Cox.
Hi,
Thank you,
Lily.
Lily. And Lily's request was Autumn Crimes.
'Tis the season for autumnal merriment or
Mischief.
sadness, gore, crime.
Yeah, you're not flying, you're falling. That's
Oh no.
We are
we're
falling.
falling.
We will
Yep.
get to the fall.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, let's go on and get started. Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for Autumn Crimes?
Well, spoiler alert, not wine. Our lovely fan picker, Lily Cox, requested Journeyman Old Country Goodness Whiskey.
Sounds
Woof.
fabulous.
Yeah, but I didn't want to barf. So I'm shouting out that request. I am acknowledging that you have requested that, and I am formally denying that request.
There is a caveat in the
Yeah.
fan picker request thing.
I'm not putting myself through that. Oh my gosh, Penny Lane is licking her butthole. I love this.
Her asshole.
This is a really great time to join our Patreon. It's at $5 or more a month. You can see this on video. Penny Lane's got her leg right up in the air.
She is flexible.
She is having a fall harvest festival in her own ass right now, and it is
She is
stunning.
bobbing for apples.
She works hard for that money. That's all I'm saying.
She's bobbing.
Respect.
Yep, she is working on an OnlyFans routine. All right. Now she knows she's caught. Oh, yep. Scritch your face. God
Yep.
bless her.
Gotta clean
Show
up.
the goodies.
You gotta
Show
clean up.
the goodies. Show it all, Penny Lane. Oh, she is. That's
Ooh,
cat
there she
vagina
is.
right there. Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. Now lick your foot. Wow.
Sign
Okay.
up for our Patreon.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna do great. We're doing great. So like I said, I didn't want to barf. I can't do whiskey. Like that's a Kenyan thing. Kenyan can do like whiskey and bourbon.
Bourbon. Mhm.
I can't do it. And I mean, Kenyan has not been doing that, obviously, because she's extraordinarily pregnant. And as of this recording, baby is not here yet, but we can get Kenyan into some whiskey in like a week.
That
so
bitch better pop soon.
Oh, I wanted to pop tomorrow on my birthday.
Mhm.
But she
As
probably
soon
won't.
as she has the baby, you're just like, here's a flask.
Seriously.
Yeah, you deserve
That's how
that. After all
Amanda's
that.
sister did it.
Yep. They had Jameson nips in the delivery room.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I come from a special breed of human. So what I'm actually drinking is hot apple cider with a shot of Fireball in it, which is like one of my favorite fall cold weather bevies. And then when snow hits the ground, that's when I like putting like rum chata in coffee.
Mm.
That
But
sounds
right now
really
I
good.
have a very slim window of fall in Minnesota to do apple cider and Fireball. So that's what I'm drinking. What's everybody else drinking?
Steven?
Well, I'm not drinking anything. Well, okay, so I mean, I just have coffee, but I
Yep.
will take a whiff of this hand sanitizer to be like,
Nice. There's alcohol in there.
there we go.
Yep.
I'm a little drunk right now.
Good for
Well, I am currently drinking water, but I just made a HelloFresh meal in record timing right before
Yum.
right before we started this episode, and I was having a little bit of wine before
you. Free
then.
plug.
So
I'm going to make one after this
a little
episode.
pre-party action.
I love it. Well, should we get to it then? And Lucy, take it away with your background and maybe psych for
Yes.
autumn crimes.
Oh, yes.
Shaking those bones?
Actually, there is a little bit of psych, so
Okay.
I can't shake the bones.
All
this
right,
time.
put it back. Put it back.
But I do have just a huge list of fun fall facts for us.
Love.
So, apparently, we only call it fall in America. The season was originally just called harvest and autumn.
I don't like calling a season harvest. That's odd to me. I don't
Actually,
like that.
I did copy and paste this from one of my sources, which are cited, and the punctuation's not great. So what I meant to say was the season was originally just called harvest, comma, and autumn came around much later in the 1300s. When English poets started using the phrase the fall of leaves, it became
Of Rome.
very fashionable to call the season fall.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I mean, like, poetry and literature was sort of like the pop culture of the time. So
Right.
people started calling it fall around then. Also, beginning in the 1600s, more people were moving from farms to urban areas, so not as many people were literally harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
By the mid 1800s, after the split of the colonies from England led to a language change
Can you
and
imagine
like spelling change, like color.
Can you imagine
Color.
growing up in a time when hashtag trends were just, we're not calling it harvest anymore, we're calling it autumn.
Yeah.
And
That's the
now
new hotness.
hashtag trends are like eating a Tide Pod.
And those trends took 100 years to circulate and like take root.
Yeah, we don't got time for that anymore.
Yeah,
Because, like, was there even a
We're too
printing
busy
press
planking.
then? I don't know.
I can't.
So England then reverted back to autumn, and the American upstarts retained fall.
Mm-hmm.
Next fact: pumpkin pie spice doesn't taste anything like actual pumpkin. There isn't any real pumpkin flavor in it because actual pumpkin tastes like shit.
So
it's-
you mean like the spice used in pumpkin pie or like
Yep.
pumpkin spice lattes?
So pumpkin, all of it. Pumpkin
Yeah.
spice is really just the shit they added to pies. So it's like cinnamon, nutmeg.
okay, so
Yeah.
it's the spices that you would use in a pumpkin dish. It's not any pumpkin because pumpkin's gross.
Correct.
Got it. That makes
Yep.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That totally tracks. Yeah, yeah.
Have you
That really
tasted
does.
pumpkin?
I have.
It's not great.
It's
Well,
not
yeah.
that good.
There is this isn't a Trader Joe's plug, but they do have pretty good pumpkin soup. But again, it's probably just the spices that are in it.
It's
probably not even.
seasoned.
Yeah.
It's the seasoning. It's not
I
the
do-
pumpkin itself.
When I carve a pumpkin, I do like to roast the seeds and then like salt and cinnamon drizzle them.
Oh.
That's
and you
really
eat
good.
it?
Yeah. Like roasted
Oh.
pumpkin seeds are a really
I love
yummy
pumpkin
snack.
seeds. Yeah. Oh, that's the best part. I don't actually like pulling the thing out.
No, the
I don't like
snot.
the guts.
Oh,
Ugh.
that's the only good part.
No, it's
How
nasty.
about
but if you can-
I'll pull your guts, you eat the seeds.
Okay, I
Because
love
we
this.
have very different.
Well, yeah,
Is
you
she
roast
licking
the
her
seeds
asshole
first, but
again?
she needs to get clean. She's hungry.
bath time before dinner.
She's doing it.
She's licking her leg. That's just her leg.
You're
Give
This is
her
like
some
this is like an old
privacy.
peep show from when the time from. Ooh, it's the Lady of the Fall. And I just- nobody can
Oh,
nobody can see
well-
that, but I'm swiveling over, revealing
Yeah,
her.
Steven's trying to give her some modesty time, some privacy.
We will get to the Lady of the Fall. Actually, I'll get to it right now. Let me
Legends
just
of the
scroll
Fall?
down. Okay, so from memory, the Greek origins of like autumn and fall, it was Persephone who was the daughter of the goddess of the harvest,
Mhm.
and like the devil snatched her.
Mm.
And her
The
mother
devil?
was like, fuck you, I'm gonna make all the crops die until you give my
Oh.
daughter back.
Okay.
So that was like the origins of like the seasons of fall according to Greek mythology.
Got it.
It just shows how bored everyone was. They were just like,
Seriously.
why is this stuff happening?
Beyond.
They look up in the sky and they're like, oh, this is just a reality show drama happening
Yeah.
up in the stars, basically.
It's Real Housewives girls trip,
Yes.
but in the sky.
I will say this though, and I think I've mentioned this before in episodes, not that I expect Steven to know this, but when Amanda and Scott and I went to go see the solar eclipse,
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I think all three of us were fucking overcome with
Right.
like, oh my God, nature is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Even
and
though
we
we
were like,
knew like
oh.
logically what was going on, to
Yeah.
think about people like prehistorically or just
Science.
technologically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see this, what's happening, everything that's happening on the planet, like with all the light and the dark and the birds and the cold wind and the
Mm-hmm.
like, I'd fucking lose my mind.
Yeah, we were like,
Lose my
oh,
mind.
now I get why people like worshipped gods.
Invented religion.
Yeah, and invented religion. Because how the fuck else could you explain an experience like this without science?
It's
I'm horny for nature all the
unbelievable.
time. I got
Yes.
it. I was in Atlanta. I saw whale sharks for the first time. I started crying. It was great.
Yes.
Whale
sharks are so
the
fucking
spotted
cool.
ones?
Yeah, because they're the only places in captivity are Atlanta and Osaka, Japan. Are whale sharks. So it was like a total like lifetime achievement unlocked.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Award.
I'm all about it. I'm all like, like seeing an eclipse,
Oh.
beautiful.
Nature
all about
is, it's too much.
Mm-hmm. She's a bit much. She's over the top.
Speaking of nature, more babies are conceived in the fall and winter than the spring and summer.
Yeah, it's too hot to fuck once spring comes.
Not even. This
No,
might
thank
be
you.
because testosterone levels in both men and women ramps up in the fall, therefore making us hornier.
No, it's just too hot.
I thought it was all the
Time.
fireplaces with the shag rug on the front.
That too.
Well, actually, like,
the mood.
some of
Yeah.
their theories are that this is like developed in prehistoric times where we could like spend the winter with somebody else
Mm-hmm.
to keep us warm. So you're not wrong.
That's all we're good for.
Yep.
Just a body to keep warm.
I need a warm
I
man
mean, yeah.
to survive the
And-
winter in my cave.
Women
And then
are doing
come
all
spring.
the fucking work.
Get out.
Fair.
The least you could do is provide warmth.
Yeah.
Right?
There are more than 7,500 varieties of apples, with about 2,500 types grown in the U.S. alone.
That's too many apples. Why do we need that many varieties of apple?
I don't even like apples.
They're not
I'm
that
disgusting.
great.
I'm glad you said that because apples they're fine.
They're fucking overrated.
Yeah, they're little. They've had the stage for too long. Let's
Yep.
get. I'm trying to think what fruit should be in there.
You know what's way better than an apple? A pear. Pears
Yeah.
are so fucking good,
Or a
and they're
peach.
easier to eat. Yes, peaches are delicious. Pears
Strawberries.
also, the skin doesn't like stay in your mouth for 100 years unchewable like an apple skin does.
I can't
don't
even
like
eat
the
green
mouth-
apples.
I don't like the mouthfeel of a pear. It's too
Oh,
mushy. It's
I
like
love it.
it's like a bad apple.
No, it's delicious.
It's fermented. It's alcoholic at that point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, why do you put it like that?
Yeah.
That's how they theorize that how our ancestors first started getting drunk was that there'd be different like mangoes or things like left in the sun and they started fermenting and getting alcoholic or alcoholic. They started fermenting alcohol and then our chimp ancestors were like, whoa, this is crazy.
I love it. Party.
Yeah. You're like eating those
cute.
rotten fruit, you get wasted.
Well, like animals get drunk off of
Yep.
different fruits, like old
I love
apples and
the
shit.
drunk squirrel videos when
Yeah.
squirrels get into
Yes.
like fermented pears and shit. I love it.
Fermented crab apples.
Oh, so good.
So the full moon in the fall that occurs during the equinox is much brighter.
The Chevy Equinox.
It's almost an orange, and it sometimes rises much earlier than a typical full moon. So like we're more likely to like recall a harvest moon than whatever the fuck the spring equinox moon is. Whatever, blah.
Boo, spring equinox. Boo.
So this occurs in September or October and was very helpful for farmers who used that bright moonlight to help harvest their crops, like after the sun went down, which is kind of why it's called a harvest moon.
Hmm.
Bobbing for apples was actually a British courting ritual.
Ugh. And torture method.
Girl, watch this. It's like, what the hell?
Look what I can do.
I mean,
Girl,
look, if you
watch
can't actually
this.
holding your breath with an apple in your mouth, not to be crass, but that actually might be a good indicator.
Well,
You know what I mean?
exactly,
Of
especially
skill.
because it was the girls bobbing and not the boys.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So-
I was thinking it was the men who was. I mean, either way, I guess you're
well,
good to
yeah,
go.
either way, you want to fit it all in your mouth.
It's like, oh yeah, she sucks. She sucks and fucks.
She real sucks. So this old-fashioned Halloween party game originally started as a British courting ritual. Men
I love
were
like in that episode of The Office where they're doing the office Halloween party and Aaron Hannon eats an entire apple under the water and it's like I did it. I ate 3 apples. They're like, you've been down there for a long time. It's like
I
that's
forgot
not how you
about
play the game.
that.
Oh my
That's not
God.
how that works.
I did it. I ate 3 apples.
I would be
Bam.
so terrified. I would like leave that Halloween party.
Oh,
Imagine
yeah.
eating an apple underwater.
No.
How fucking gross and amazing.
So gross.
So the men were assigned an apple, and the women would try to bob for that particular apple that she thought that, like, belonging to the guy she thought was hot.
That's fucking
and
stupid.
if she was
I hate it.
successful, it was taken as an omen that they were meant to be together. So
if
like,
she was successful, she legally belonged to him from that point forth.
Kind of, yeah.
Henceforth.
I feel like the whole rest of the commune would be like, oh, yes, you are meant to be together. Go, you're married now, bye.
Yeah. It was that easy.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you got to get a marriage license. You have to get a registered officiant. You got to
Blah,
get
blah,
so
blah.
many hoops before you
To
can
like
just grab
the-
an apple out of a barrel and boom, you married.
To like the other person, treat them like a human being. Oh,
Yeah, it's so
God.
annoying.
I'll marry you, I'll marry you, I'll marry you.
The worst thing that ever happened to society was like, you know, in Western society is like women
Men.
not being property anymore. Really a bummer. We should go back. Oh,
I mean, it's the family structure. It's
Yep.
the nuclear unit.
ugh. Sarcasm. Sarcasm.
So
Sarcasm.
fall is basically synonymous with pumpkins, but have you ever wondered why we're so obsessed with these gourds, these pumpkins?
These
'Cause they're
gorgeous
thick? I don't-
gourds. Yeah, because they have a big booty and a tiny waist.
They're kind of expensive. We decorate them, we carve them, we kind of eat them, but mostly just decorate with them.
Well,
and
I re-
apparently, it has nothing to do with the taste of the pumpkin itself, which we kind of went through with the pumpkin spice thing because they don't
Right.
taste that great.
Mm-mm.
Studies have shown that what we really love about pumpkins is the sense of nostalgia that they make us feel.
Totally.
Pumpkins represent farm life and tradition, which is a romantic idea for many Americans that we're very attached to. So basically, we just like the idea of pumpkins. I would argue
That's
the
not
pop
the
of
nos-
color.
Yeah, that's not the nostalgia it triggers for me. For me, it triggers the nostalgia of like being a kid around Halloween, not
Yes.
farm life.
Well, I think it could all fall under the same category.
Yeah,
I mean,
the simpler
generationally.
times or whatever. I think that's
Yeah.
why the turnips didn't last, you know, because like every few years, BuzzFeed or whoever will bust out the like turnip jack-o'-lanterns, and you're just
Yep.
like, "Ugh," like they're
And
almost
they're
horrifying. Amazing though. I'm like, I want to carve a turnip this year. To be
Yep.
honest,
We've talked a lot about the turnip
Ugh.
jack-o'-lanterns, and we've never done it. We've always wanted to do it.
Let's
We've
do
never
it.
done it. Let's do it.
Can we buy a turnip at the grocery store?
Absolutely.
This might be the year. I think you can also do it with like beets and radishes and potatoes and shit too.
Buy all the garnishes.
It's all the same.
We'll do a Zoom craft night.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Only the creepiest faces win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll get a room full of children to be the judge, and the one that the children is the most scared of wins.
The top trophy goes to the one who gives the child the worst
most
nightmares.
It's a Monsters Inc. situation. We're gonna
I
really
love it. Collect their screams.
This
This is happening. This is fucking happening.
So here for collect their
There's-
screams. You fucking weirdo. Okay.
Watch Monsters Inc. I didn't come up with that concept.
Okay. Research has shown that people born in the fall, so like September through, I think
Me.
they lasted it through December, but it's at least September through
Are
November.
the most amazing.
Listen,
You're really vamping it up on camera.
I don't want your ego to get too full because I'm about to give you a bunch of compliments in a row.
I don't want your
Wait,
life.
when's your
Bring
birthday
it
again,
up.
Amanda?
Tomorrow,
Oh
September
my
30th.
gosh. Well, happy early birthday.
When's your
Yeah.
birthday, Steven?
I'm a spring baby, April 17th.
Boo.
Hey, but my
Well.
birthday was on Easter this year, so that's like,
So you had to share
I don't
it
know why
with
I'm
some
cool.
creepy
Me and Jesus.
bunny and zombie Jesus.
yeah, zombie Jesus and the bunny and I. My birthday is gonna be on Easter every 10 years plus one from now on.
Ooh,
Basically.
creepy.
Nice.
It's like a weird prime
He is
number thing.
risen.
Yeah, zombie Jesus.
Well, lucky
it.
you.
Anyway, back to
Well,
Back to me.
fall birthdays.
Not to inflate Amanda's ego, but good luck. Okay, here we go. Research has shown that people born in the fall are more likely to live to 100 years old.
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
Not that
Well,
you want that.
I super don't want that, but okay.
And no, it's not just a coincidence. Studies have shown that the month you're born in can influence the environment you develop in, both inside and outside the womb. That environment can do everything from affecting your behavior to your overall health. The prevailing theory is that this is because of seasonal infections having a lasting impact on health.
Hot.
So
So while my mom was pregnant, she avoided like flu season and stuff.
well, no, it's because after you were born outside of the womb, you're less likely to have these. It made sense when I wrote it.
Yeah, this tracks. I'll take the compliment. I'm gonna live to be 100. Next.
I think the primary factor was that like different infections develop more during the hotter months,
Oh,
and
yeah,
they kind of taper off as winter comes around. So like
Got it.
when you're old enough to be really like outside in the world unprotected, it's gonna be like winter, spring rather than summer, fall.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
Also, children who are born in the fall tend to do better in school.
Well, that isn't true for me.
Doesn't track for this
that was
audience,
the longest
but that's
pause
okay.
ever.
Well, that
This
isn't
also
true.
This next one also doesn't track with present company. Children born in the fall also tend to are more likely to become athletes.
Okay.
And they think this is because the mother, when pregnant, likely had a lot more exposure to the sun, which helped her body produce more vitamin D, which helped her give the kids stronger bones. And that
Okay.
also made it more likely for kids born in the fall to be taller.
I'm
Which
not
also
tall.
doesn't fall under your umbrella.
No, my sister was also born in the fall. She was born in November, and she's pretty tall.
And she's an athlete.
Yeah.
She played hockey.
She did play hockey for a long time, and she did like run a marathon within the last 5 years because she's an insane person.
What a psychopath.
I know. I don't fucking get why. Or it might have been a half marathon. It's probably a half marathon. I don't know.
Either way.
She's going to be texting me right now, yelling at me for misrepresenting her incredible achievements to an international audience. But
I'm
love
sorry.
you. Nothing you can do about it. Bye.
I ran a 5K 10 years ago and I'm still talking about
Never
it.
again.
Never again.
Never.
Are you kidding me? It was
No.
awful.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Lesson learned.
Yep. At what cost?
So okay, all of this is great, but also children born in the fall are about 30% more likely to develop asthma.
Okay, well, didn't get that. Did get diabetes, though, which is the asthma of the pancreas,
Yes.
I've heard.
Pancreatic asthma.
Oh, interesting.
I made that up.
Yeah. I mean, my sister was born. She was September 20th. I guess that still counts as summer, though, right?
What? No, September 20th?
September through November, I think.
That's fall,
solidly
baby.
fall.
I guess back to school. Yeah,
Yep,
she's right at the
that's
cutoff.
fall.
She has asthma, so
Well, meteorologically,
Libras are the best.
no. Meteorologically, scientifically, fall starts on September 1st.
oh,
But what about astrologically?
Well, like weather-wise, which I guess would be meteorology, but the first official day of fall is like September 23rd, 24th-ish, somewhere in there. But yeah. And also climate change is really fucking us up. So.
yeah. It's it was like 100. It's 100 degrees right now in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Any statement I'm making can't last more than
60 days.
60 days because
We're
we're going downhill fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
I
you?
mean, all this fall stuff makes sense. I mean, I was the spring baby, but my mom, my sister, and my dad are all children of the fall.
Children of the fall.
Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. That's sister, dad, mom.
Ooh,
So,
yeah, you have a very harvest-heavy family.
yeah. And then me out here being like, oh, no, I'm hanging out with Jesus. You know, like.
My birthday's on Easter. I don't have asthma.
Yeah,
Suck
exactly.
it, nerds.
I don't need glasses, but the rest, well, I probably do need glasses now. But the rest of them have had glasses. My sister had glasses like her whole life, so.
You're bragging to the wrong crowd, Stephen.
Yeah.
No, it's getting, I printed out my notes today. It's getting bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sir.
It's going to get bad.
Your glasses.
So, do you know why leaves in the fall turn yellow and orange?
Probably something to do with fucking photosynthesis or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm dying. I'm dying up here.
Kinda.
I'm dying a bit.
During the spring and summer, chlorophyll in the leaves absorb the sunshine, water, and carbon dioxide from the air and make it into carbohydrates like sugars and starch to feed the tree.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, the leaves also contain carotenes and xanthophyll, which are the yellow and the orange pigments. But they're kind of overshadowed by the green of the chlorophyll. So these leaves have these colors in them year round, but the green just takes over. So we just see green leaves. But in the fall, because of changes in the length of daylight and changes in the temperature, the leaves stop their food-making process, which aka photosynthesis.
Mm-hmm.
The chlorophyll then breaks down, the green color disappears, and the yellow to orange colors become visible and give leaves part of their fall splendor.
Oh, that's fucking cool. Leaf peeping season, baby.
We'll get to the leaf peeping.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that happen before. Growing up on the West Coast, the
Oh
leaves
my
changing
God,
and all
you're
that stuff.
right.
That's
Why
weird.
do you live there? That's weird.
I mean, it's.
I know why you live
I'm a
there.
big surfer. No, I don't know.
Yeah. You like to pump iron on Venice Beach
Exactly.
and oil yourself. Yeah.
The San Andreas Fault is going to slip any minute. So
I know. But I love earthquakes, though. I
not
mean, I
that
don't love
kind
them.
of earthquake. You're going to be dead in that earthquake.
Ugh. I mean,
She
I
gonna
totally
take
want to
you
move
out.
to LA eventually, so I get it, and I'm
God.
with you, but Lucy is terrified of it.
If I visit the West Coast,
She's
I
scared.
have anxiety about the San Andreas Fault.
Mm-hmm.
I realized it's Stockholm syndrome. I think most people who grew up in Southern California or just California in general, we love earthquakes because we're like, well, we have to deal with them, sort of thing. So like, I'm like, whenever there's an earthquake, like even at like 5 in the morning, it's like earthquake Twitter, who's up right now? Like me and Chrissy
Twitter.
Teigen, we're up. Let's talk about earthquake. You know, like, and then people who like move to LA from other places who are sensible, reasonable people are like, why are you guys? You're having too much fun right now. This is not Discovery Zone. Like this is not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like Minnesota with tornadoes. Tornado
It's also
Twitter.
like Florida with hurricanes. I've been
Yeah.
reading
Oh, yeah.
a lot of like Florida hurricane social media shit. And everyone who doesn't live there is like, oh my God, are you okay? Please check in. And everyone who does live there is like, yeah, we're drinking Bacardi.
Yeah, there was a
It's fine.
news broadcast from like the Gulf, not the Gulf Coast, the coast where the thing is fucking Ian's coming. Anyway, I know where places are, but anyway, they're like on this pier, like over the ocean, and the rain is like sideways, and there's debris flying everywhere, and there's just Florida man shirtless on a bicycle just biking down the pier
Yes.
alone.
Okay, so that video is in Key West at the southernmost point by that buoy.
Yeah.
That like red and black striped buoy.
Yeah.
It's like the Key West, like
Mhm. So it might not
tourist
be
place.
as like severe right there or something, but it's just
no,
such
that's like where it's the worst.
It's
That's
nuts.
why
I'm just
it's
like,
so
okay.
fucking dumb.
But, you know, we laugh and then it's like, okay, but we're in Minnesota and a lot of Midwestern states. It's like you're outside with your phone recording the funnel that's like of a tornado that's like coming at you, or like
the green sky.
or the green sky, or like recording the golf ball size hail. And it's like, okay, idiot. Anyone in any other state that doesn't experience this kind of weather would be like, what the fuck, go inside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do it's like their own local earthquakes are your hurricane or tornado.
Yeah.
Got to have fun somehow, you know?
Yeah, if we
I
don't
just
laugh,
feel
we
like
cry.
when
Yeah.
that fault slips, it's going to be a mammoth tidal wave tsunami situation, and that's what freaks me out.
That's how I learned. That's
be.
why I learned how to surf.
You're really pushing
CNN
surfing.
is
I
like,
gotta-
here comes the wave. Who's that? Oh my God, it's Steven. Ah.
It's Stephen Ray Morris.
Penny's like on the front of the surfboard. I got the GoPro out. It's great.
Penny laying
You're
on the
live
back in a
streaming
little
the whole
life vest.
Oh, she's a little life jacket. That would be so cute.
You need to get that cat a life jacket
Would help.
for the impending tsunami.
My earthquake kit, water,
Life jacket for
Beans.
Penny.
life jacket for Penny.
Yep.
A samurai sword,
Your birth certificates
Yes.
in a Ziploc.
of
Yep.
course.
Your COVID vaccination card.
Yes.
That it was such a big deal, and now nobody asks for it anymore because the pandemic is quote unquote over.
Okay. God. Okay. I have
died.
more information about how leaves change colors, though.
Okay.
Okay, fall splendor. At the same time, other chemical changes may occur, which form additional colors through the development of red anthocyanin pigments.
Ooh, that sounds like poison.
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 Some mixtures give rise to the reddish and purplish fall colors of trees, such as dogwoods and sumacs, while others give the sugar maple its brilliant orange. So it's kind of dependent on how much sugar is still in the veins of the tree, which are in the leaves. If it's like super high in sugar, it's going to be that really bright orange, like the maple tree.
Mm-hmm.
The autumn foliage of some trees show only yellow colors. Others, like many oaks, display mostly browns. All of these colors are due to the mixing of various amounts of the chlorophyll residue and other pigments in the leaf during the fall season. And then what makes it fall off, at some point there's like a hormone. Steven,
That caught me off guard.
this is important to some people.
Pay attention. There will be a quiz.
The
Steven,
pun
you're
was just
disrupting
so
the
rich.
class.
It was too rich. It was good. It was as sweet as maple syrup.
Maple syrup, the sugar, it's very orange.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point there's like a hormone that's released that develops like a cell cluster at the base of the stem of the leaf that makes it break off from the tree and fall
That fly is back.
The fucking fly. Some of these coloring chemicals are also what give egg yolks their yellow color and carrots their orange color. It's the same sort of like coloring chemicals.
Which gave my grandma that orange color because she ate too many carrots.
That
I was going to
can
ask,
happen.
is that really real? Is that
It's
actually
really
real?
real.
Super real.
My
Yep.
grandmother, the whites of her eyes and like her fingernails and like a little bit of her skin started to turn orange because she was eating like 4 to 5 bags of baby carrots a day. Like
Yeah.
that's all she ate. Like
That's-
no
Super real.
diversified diet. So she got like a quote unquote vitamin A poisoning.
Oh my God.
Poison.
Poison. Helen was a special lady.
See, I've thought about doing that of like, oh man, those baby carrots are delicious. Maybe that'll just be like a permanent part of my don't go too ham on it though, I guess.
I mean, if you're gonna go that ham, eat other things.
Eat
is really
ham.
what it is. Eat ham. My grandmother was not getting like any protein, any grains, not a lick.
My dad worked with a woman at one time who like went vegan, but she really only ate carrots and she turned orange.
Yep. Yep. Gotta watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta watch it.
So most conifer trees, so these are like pines, spruces, firs, cedars, the ones with the needles, are evergreen, which means they don't turn colors because the needles themselves are covered in a thick wax that prevents those needles from freezing. So it kind of prevents that
That process from happening.
stopping of the
Okay.
chlorophyll. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's why they're called evergreen, because
Yeah.
they're
I thought it was just
always
they
green.
put it out whenever they wanted, and then you couldn't tell when it was actually recorded. I
That
thought
it
that's
was-
what it
Got it.
All right.
Tricky.
Okay. All right.
Industry joke. Loves me some evergreen content.
Mhm.
A gallon of apple cider requires the juice of 36 apples.
That's a lot of apples. But
It's
we
too
make
many.
we grow so fucking many of them in the US that I'm not worried about it.
So
It's
one
what
fact
it's.
one fact that I didn't put in here, I think I'm remembering this accurately, but like don't at me, is that the state of Washington, which produces a shit ton of apples every year, in 2019 produced like 136,000 boxes of apples. Or no, 136 million boxes of apples.
That's too much.
And it like a box of apples,
are you
there has to be like
prove?
That's a lot of
30,
courting going on.
30
Right?
apples in each box.
Yeah.
Too much.
Why?
Who
Why
is
do we
eating?
need that? Right?
Who is eating these?
Well, if we're drinking think about if apple cider takes a gallon of apple cider takes that many apples, think of like apple juice.
It's a lot of Martinelli's being.
Yeah, that's a highly consumed
Martinelli's.
Yeah, that is really good apple juice.
Fuck
That's good
me
shit.
up. I fucking love Martinelli's. Okay. Corey calls apple juice a juice, which is really gross.
Anus juice. Don't love it.
Sebum. Okay.
Ugh.
When we fall behind in the fall for daylight saving time, the rate of heart attacks in the U.S. goes down for a while, specifically on the Monday after we fall back.
Is that where we gain an hour?
Yeah, we fall
Of
back.
sleep?
We gain an hour.
Wow, that should be very fucking telling of how much we need rest.
Yeah. That was kind of a sad fact for me.
That's a
personally.
really sad fact.
Mhm. And then my last fact for us, apparently more than 3.5 million tourists travel to Vermont every year to do some leaf peeping.
Yep, they sure do.
Which inspires a $460 million tourist influx every fall.
Golly.
It's a natural resource, these leaves, this halting of the chlorophyll, the photosynthesis process.
The halting.
Are there tour guides, or are you just kind of going like, wow, cool?
You just go and look
neat.
at trees.
There probably are
buses
tours.
And, yeah.
I mean, it could be fun, like a fun. I've never been to New England either, so I just would imagine. I feel like you get more out of it if you were like somebody's explaining this, what happens with the leaves, and you know.
I'm from New England.
I love where your head is at, by the way. I need the background info.
Most
people are just like, wow, that's a really pretty tree. I'll take a picture.
You'd get sick of it pretty quick. I mean, it's how many times do I need to look at a fucking tree before I'm like, yeah, okay, like that's a great tree. Like,
maybe there's some great Instagram photo ops, like,
probably, but
Amanda,
like
remember
wings
when
made out of a leaf,
Oh, like the angel wings, painted on this, like an alleyway, wall.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Amanda, remember when we drove from Brooklyn to DC in October-ish?
That was really incredible.
Oh, it's actually stunning.
It is. It's quite beautiful. Quite beautiful.
I ran out of words, so at some point I just kept shouting, "Look at that fucker!
Look at that fucker!
Look at
those
fucker.
fuckers!"
Wait, I'm actually going to be in DC next weekend.
You will catch
do some peeping.
You'll catch some leaves.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask my friend to just be like, show me some leaves.
Take me on a leaf tour now.
Let me peep. Maybe don't say that.
Scream, let me peep in their
Yeah.
closed door.
Let me peep.
See what happens.
Yeah.
I'm cruising for a peep.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
Ish,
that
are
is
you done?
Yes, that is my segment.
Thank God. Jesus fucking Christ. Stephen is going to be filling in for Kenyon this week, reading her probably deeply disturbing case. And Stephen, who claims they don't need glasses, has printed out the notes and will be reading them like a 60s newscaster.
It's size 18 font, by the way.
Is that why you
Size
printed
18. Printed them out. You're going to be reading them like a newscaster at the news desk, and I am living for it.
I love it so much.
This just in. Stephen Morris needs glasses.
Oh, no.
Stephen Ray Morris. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Glasses are great. We all wear
great.
glasses.
Join us.
I mean, I wanted to wear glasses as a kid. I used to read in the dark on purpose when I was like growing up. Like my parents would have to be like, would turn on the light.
Strain your eyes.
Yeah.
My God.
'Cause I thought it was
Kids
cool.
are so weird.
I mean, glasses are very cool. I still
They're
think
so
they're very
chic.
cool.
They
As
are
Dorit
now,
Kingsley
but they were
Kensley
not
would say.
cool when I started wearing them.
I know all those Gen Z kids, they're all like wearing glasses and
It's like normalizing stuff.
Ugh.
no shame, no
Yeah.
embarrassment. Ugh.
No
Ridiculous.
bullying. Enjoy your bully-free environment.
Yeah.
Grow up with no grit. Have fun.
Freaks.
How are you even going to be funny without having shame? I don't
Right?
understand.
Shame made me hilarious.
How are you going to have any sort of like personal character without having been just
Mercilessly
bullied in
Bullied.
school?
God, kids these days, am I right? Anyway, after mercilessly bullying Stephen Ray Morris for printing out his notes, take it away, my friend.
I've gotten some character. I'm good. This is a very exciting story. It's okay. Well, I wanted to set. I won't set it up or spoil anything.
Do whatever you want.
No, okay.
It's your show.
Well, it's interesting because I needed to see this place, and I don't want to say, Victorian house. It's a place in Staten Island called the Chrysler Mansion, and it's a Queen Anne style home. It literally looks like an iconic Victorian house, which is like me saying iconic Victorian house because I'm not an expert on the subject. But when you think of like a haunted house, this is what it looks like, the Chrysler Mansion.
Like
So
turrets and like a widow's walk and like detailed like railings and shit.
yes, detailed railings. You're like, where do I put my hand on this as I'm walking down the stairs? Maybe my petticoat will get caught in like a thing on the side.
Yeah.
I'm
But
gonna
yes,
put some photos of it on the drive while you're reading
Like
because
sharp angles against a dark gray foreboding
this
sky.
house is amazing.
It's very cool, and in my head, Victorian era it's like the modern era where we're like, oh my god, like old stuff is so cool, like how we are now. Like Victorians were as nostalgic, I think, for the past as we are nostalgic for the past. Like,
Do you
in that
think
same
if
kind of way.
Victorians saw like a 50s Rambler style home, they would just like puke in their mouths after like growing up in this opulent,
like a ranch style house. You're just like,
just a split level.
Anything minimal would be gross. It'd be like, are you living in a cave?
Yeah,
At that
the
point?
Victorians do not support mid-century modern.
They
at
would
all.
burn Frank Lloyd Wright
Yeah,
at the stake.
which I appreciate as a maximalist. I do appreciate that.
You need spaces for the ghost to hide. Like,
Right.
that's really, I mean, this place literally, windows are like perfectly framed for like, to like look over and then just see a ghost in a window. Like,
A dead woman in a veil.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it. I mean, I
You're
put some
describing
pictures
my
up.
dream home.
Yeah, it's freaking gorgeous.
You're like, what's the price on Zillow?
Right? I am gonna Zillow this mansion.
So it was built around 1885 by a German immigrant named Balthasar Kreischer for his son. And
Balthazar, Jesus Christ. Tell
the
me you're
thing-
haunted without telling me you're haunted.
oh yeah, no, exactly. If you're named Balthasar, you're haunted immediately.
This
But-
is in, sorry,
1880
Staten Island?
Yeah, Staten Island.
Okay.
When it was last for sale, it was $7.4 million. It's almost 5 acres of property.
So that's the interesting part about this place is that essentially Balthazar was like, oh, I have 2 sons and I don't know which one is my favorite. So, well, that went from German to like Midwestern at the same time.
It was perfect.
But essentially, so the house that we're talking about today, the Chrysler Mansion, actually had a twin house.
It did. I put a picture of that up.
Because Balthazar built one for his son Edward, and then his other son was named Charles, no longer stands. It burned down in the 30s.
Wow. It's really creepy. There's a picture on the drive of that in black and white of it like on this rolling hill with these 2 identical Victorian it's very creepy.
Wow. This is like Addams Family. It's like cartoonishly creepy.
Yeah, it's very Beetlejuice a little bit too.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and again, this is a different time, different your family is your business, is your, family. And so essentially, so the Chrysler Mansion originally had its twin, and Edward and Charles and Balthazar and all the families all lived together on this property.
Sounds awful. Okay.
And it was basically, I mean, you just have enough people that are your family that are part of a town, you kind of eventually just take over the town.
Yeah.
So this area, I think it was originally called, it's in a Charleston neighborhood of Staten Island. They eventually just called this area Chryslerville because
the family just took
if every
over.
other person is like, if every other person is a Chrysler, it's like, well, yeah, we own this town. I don't know.
Right.
That's not how they talk. But and so eventually,
welcome to Chryslerville, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they talk.
And so they also had a factory that was kind of the main source of business where all the family worked and everything. But eventually, all good fortunes come to an end. Maybe people got creeped out that they all lived together in a giant compound. And it's a few turn of events that go bad, which is Balthazar, God rest his soul, passes away. The factory that they all worked at burns to the ground. And basically Edward and Charles were like, no, we can fix this. But, they kind of, I mean, if you think about it, if your daddy's building you a house for both of your families, to like both of you, like
daddy would never.
The sons were never going to have enough I don't think the sons probably had enough gumption to really, like now that daddy's gone,
to
it's
survive on their own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you're,
they don't have transferable skills because they've been spoon fed the family wealth since they were born.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, in 1894, so this is not even 10 years later, basically after building. So like when we say things took a turn for worse, I mean, this was dramatically like, house built, factory, the father dies only a couple years later, then the factory burns down, and just through all these losses, Edward Chrysler, the brother whose house is still standing today, he shoots himself in the head at the brick factory after a dispute with several employees. Probably they were like, hey, can we get a raise? Maybe some nice working hours. There's things called unions.
Yeah.
He shoots himself.
Oh my God.
Oh.
After Edward Chrysler dies, basically, and again, I think indicative of this family where, Charles is still around, and there's, again, plenty of, I'm sure, very intelligent women. I don't know what the situation was with their families, what the mingling was like or anything, but they couldn't keep the business. And so by 1899, the brick factory had passed out of the Chrysler family's ownership and then eventually closed. And then during World War I, so essentially, after because of World War I, the first German World War, basically it's just like, they just, there was anti-German sentiment. So Chryslerville was probably no longer called Chryslerville.
Right.
And so that was when it started to be known as Charleston again. And basically, it's this thing of like, because I was looking at pictures of it, it's like a house on the hill, basically, which is like all good haunted houses are. There's not a haunted house that's like, in a
like, valley.
No. Yeah.
If you look up haunted house in a dictionary, it's this picture.
It's on a hill.
This is the original haunted house. Yeah. So it's obviously going to be like rife for like neighborhood urban legend at this point. This family's gone through so much.
Yeah. Oh,
So it seems like it was just a place that kind of became untouchable. So, the house was bought and sold over the years, just kind of passed around, nobody having it for very long. Staten Island residents who'd been inside the house reported hearing inexplicable scratching noises. No, thank you.
Scratching?
Why
is that so much worse than like a voice? Why is that so much fucking worse?
Yeah.
I think you killed Lucy.
You
killed her.
R.I.P.
She's
to a real one.
choking. You killed her. Oh my god.
I'm dead.
Oh, are you okay?
Are you okay,
Did
Lucy?
Steven get you?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
god,
I-
the fly.
And I just was tweeting about how like human beings that we can choke on our own spit seems like a bad.
That's a
weird
design flaw.
Yeah, that's like that's the Achilles heel of Achilles heels.
Yeah, we really got fucked on that one.
But and I think obviously a lot of these factors like came together in the sense that like obviously in addition to Edward's violent death by his own hands, there were also rumors that a cook who had been employed by the Chryslers had also taken his own life in the house and continued to haunt the servants' quarters.
Jesus.
According to Tina Casman Dunn of the Tottenville Historical Society, Staten Island is an old community full of history, but everyone is always interested in this house. They always wanted to know if the ghost stories are true. I mean, it just feels like, again, I think I've stated this already, but it just feels like it's the kind of place that was like the perfect recipe.
Yep.
Rich, falling, the
A Victorian house on the top of a hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one twin
With lots
Victorian
of
houses,
sharp
one
angles.
burned to the ground.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty spooky.
So the house itself has a ghost twin that's dead.
It's
I
rife.
can't.
It's
Yeah.
fucking rife.
I fucking can't.
It's ripe and rife with
Ugh.
rumors.
I'm scared of it.
And again, as what is it? Legends, myth turns to legends, legends turns to myth. Full Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
This place was always kind of, I think, because it's on a hill, it was never integrated into society, into the neighborhood in any meaningful way, other than at one point it was a restaurant, which I mean,
Weird.
I love this is the very like
Restaurant?
Casperness. Yeah, like, hey, let's turn it into a diner,
Yeah. Welcome the whole neyborhood here as long as they pay to come in and eat our shitty food and then get like ghost scratched.
Kreischer's Wiener Schnitzel and Emporium or something. I don't know.
Kreischer's Wiener Schnitzel House.
Oh my God.
Ugh.
So we're going all the way to the year 2000s. That's how how long, like, again,
What a jump.
just
Not
passed.
in use, like at all.
No, again, except for the one time it was a restaurant.
Ugh.
In the early 2000s, a real estate developer from Ohio named Isaac Yomatavan purchased the mansion. And it's interesting because it almost is like it takes an outsider to come in and be like, hey, this place is interesting. Yeah, like there's some historical value in that, et cetera, et cetera. Which is funny, though, because he was like, I want to restore it because it's historical, but I want to turn it into a fancy retirement home.
Okay. Let's take this haunted Victorian house, slap some paint on it, and then stick a bunch of people near death in it. What could go wrong?
It's kind of like a factory system, like it's just like it's just the, what do you call that when, it's like the Ford model, like assembly line?
An assembly line to make more ghosts.
It's a ghost assembly line.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm terrified of this. Okay,
No
continue.
notes.
It's
I
like
love it.
It's like how legend has it that like children and the elderly are the most connected to the spirit
To the
world
other
because
side.
they're the closest at the
Ugh,
beginning and end of your life,
a spooky bell curve.
right? Like let's
Yeah,
pack them all
totally.
into a fucking haunted house, just see what happens. Let's put a daycare in there too.
Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how you open a B&B.
My
It
God.
has to be haunted.
Yeah.
But and again, I think I also really like this story because this historical aspect of it and trying to restore things, there's like a sense of, he's like, ooh, I want to restore it to its former glory, but also make money, make it a retirement home. But also I'm not going to actually move there and do anything about it. I'm going to hire other people to take care of it, which again, it just, there's a lot of metaphors,
It's
a
got
lot of
Zillow vibes to it.
We're monetizing the hauntings here.
yes. And
Capitalism, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Even the dead can't escape it.
yeah, exactly. Even in
Death
death,
and taxes.
capitalism. I mean, it's funny because I actually watched some interviews with him on YouTube, and he seems kind of innocent in a way, he's acting very like, oh, I didn't know that kind of thing could happen or whatever, because In 2005, the caretaker living on the Chrysler Mansion estate was a 27-year-old man named Joseph Young. And so Yomatavan had known a little bit about Young when he hired him. He had known very little about Young when he hired him. Other than that, he was a former Marine. When in fact, he would only know, he's like, oh, I'm a Marine, but he'd actually only served a few months before he went AWOL, and then he was dishonorably discharged.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so this
guy was just
sketchy.
like, no, yeah, they're like, he's not going to do a background check. I mean, I'm assuming maybe if you're applying to be a caretaker at a haunted mansion, they're probably not going to do a background check.
Yeah,
they're
how
like,
deep are we really going to go? You want the job, you got it.
Yeah.
You're hired.
So
you're volunteering for this position, you're fucking hired.
Yep.
And you know, also a little bit of a precursor to almost where we are now with like housing market, in the sense that like there's more need for like, because essentially Young's only job was to basically be like, hey, just prevent like teenagers from breaking in and having sex and trying to find ghosts. Like,
right.
You know, people trying to break in and, you know, just
fuck with this house.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that also has, you know, become something very big now where rich people are buying property just to like have it as, so there is more of a need for people like this, but, you know, it turned out to be not very good for Yomatavan.
Oh, no.
And so what Yomatavan could not have guessed was that Joseph Young was a low-level associate of the infamous Bonanno. Oh, no, I should probably pronounce their name because they're a crime family. The Bonanno?
Oh, yeah.
The Bonanno?
Bananas.
Sloppy bananas.
Bonanno.
Let's go with bananas. Bananas.
He was a low-level associate of the infamous Bonanno crime family, a fact that would soon add a new chapter to this mansion's grisly history.
Ooh.
Lightning strike.
Drama.
Fucking cripes.
Yikes.
So-
all right.
So a fact about Young that is worth mentioning is that Young is a black man, and it actually, apparently, according to just, I guess, Italian mob history, that it's very rare for Italian mob people to hire black men. And so Young had become connected with the family after taking the job as a bouncer at a Staten Island restaurant where he met a mobster named Gino Galestro.
God bless.
That's a great name. Gino Galestro.
Uncle Gino.
Uncle Gino.
I got Galestro
He got Galestro.
issues.
I have high cholesterol.
Oh, so that gabagool. Okay, sorry, guys. But Galestro actually started out as a New York Post and Daily News driver. And
Oh my God, he was a rag salesman.
And then he became an official of the drivers' union for the newspapers.
All right.
So, but Young began completing assignments for the family in exchange for cash payments, such as transporting guns with scratched off serial numbers, which I guess is a thing, from Pennsylvania to New York. So it's like a hustler's hustler is, and I can see that appeal of like, oh, all I have to do is make sure nobody breaks into this house. This is like,
and I get a paycheck, easy peasy.
paid in cash.
Every haunted house movie starts basically this exact way.
Yeah, it's an empty house sitting around all day. So in 2005, the Bonanno family found themselves in need of a disappearing. I have to say it in that voice. It's just, you can't help it. One of their associates named Robert McKelvey failed to pay the debt that he owed the family. So basically, they're like, okay, we need to disappear this guy. And I think, because Young was hustling for Galestro, probably, just saw him, they basically just like, this is a good opportunity. He seems like our guy because he also has a quiet, secluded place where he can disappear people.
Yep.
And McKelvey was lured to the mansion under the pretense of a top secret mob meeting, which I just love that it's like, so we got a top secret mob meeting, it's like, I think if somebody's saying we have a top secret mob meeting, that's
red flag number one.
Yes.
And then you get to the location of the meeting, and it is an abandoned Victorian mansion in Staten Island. Red flag number 2.
I feel like,
Two,
I feel
three,
like
and four.
if you're in New York, I mean, I don't know anything. I don't like about New York City or life or anything, but I feel like if somebody who you work for normally in New York City and you live in New York City is like, hey, can you come meet me not in New York City? That feels like if you have to go over the freeway, if you're going to Jersey, like that seems like. Hey,
Steven, can you meet me in San Francisco?
Oh, sure. Yeah. We'll just head up there.
Even more jokingly, but it's like how Minneapolis and St. Paul, it's the Twin Cities, but we have a rivalry and we're only like 10 minutes apart. Like there are parts of Minneapolis that are literally 5 minutes away from St. Paul. I live really close to St. Paul, but still, I'm not fucking going to St. Paul. St. Paul's stupid. I'm not going. I'm not going to Staten Island.
You're not going to make me go.
You're not going to make me go to St. Paul. I'm not doing it.
I'm only going in a box. It's like, hey, funny you should say that.
The only way you're getting me to St. Paul is in a box.
So.
But also, if anyone lays me to rest in St. Paul, I will fucking make the rest of your life miserable.
Oh, yeah. You're going to haunt the fuck out of that person.
Absolutely. I'm not having it.
So. McKelvey arrives at this mansion, thinking it's a secret mob meeting. Maybe there's some hors d'oeuvres, whatever.
Some refreshments. Yeah.
He's greeted by Young and 3 accomplices.
Baby carrots.
Lots of baby carrots. Instead of, this great meeting and baby carrots, he was greeted by Young and 3 accomplices. And essentially, the research goes into details that according to our sources, McKelvey's murder was an awkward and drawn out affair, which is, I never want to hear a murder being called awkward and drawn out.
No, that sounds awful.
Awkward? God. Of course it's awkward.
So Young, again, I feel like this guy, it's that thing that like, I just think of like Goodfellas where you're just young and hungry and you're going to prove yourself. So he first attempted to stab McKelvey to death. Mm-hmm. When this fails, he tried to strangle him before ultimately drowning him in an ornamental pool surrounded by flower beds, elaborate brickwork, and 1.3 acres of manicured lawn.
Oh my God. It is really hard to kill someone with your bare hands, though. It is.
And what an idyllic scene to meet your maker.
I could see like a Scorsese movie where it's like, it's all handheld camera work, awkward, but then it just cuts to a wide. It's a beautiful manicured lawn. Yep. There's this little brick like fountain pool thing, and it's just holding on the angle as as McKelvey's being like held under the water
by like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a close up of the guy's face, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I think the most disturbing part is that he attempted to stab him to death and that failed. Didn't work.
Yeah.
That just brings to mind.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's creepy.
Well, also, what were the other 3 guys doing?
Right?
His associates.
Help out.
Yeah, you're doing a pretty good job over there. Hey,
hello?
Try stabbing him under the arm,
Doing all the work here.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. Throwing Young right under the bus.
Also, just like find an artery. Jesus Christ, get it over
it's
with.
Hard?
Honestly,
well,
you got 2 temples. You got a bunch of shit here. How was this not going to work?
Again, Young. I think Young was probably somebody who wanted to prove himself because it doesn't seem like, according to any of this research, that he had other experience. It was almost like this is the first thing that maybe could have elevated his mob career a little bit higher.
He wimped out. Mm-hmm. He couldn't do it. And it actually ended up worse for him because he had to kill this person in 3 to 4 different ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good job.
Not great.
And then on top of that, he used the property, of course, to saw the body into several pieces. And then he used the mansion's furnace to get rid of the body. So
what a it's not like idiot.
So at this point, the Chrysler Mansion is no longer just like a place where it happened. It's like now it's part of it. know, like I wonder if the ghosts were like, what the, like how many haunted places get new ghosts? It's
the ghosts are like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I just imagine like a bunch of old Victorian ghosts just in the corner, just rubbing their temples like,
oh my God.
this is.
And then this guy shows up with like a Bluetooth earpiece and everything, and like like cargo shorts. Like, oh shit, I'm not even from Staten Island.
God. Okay. No.
The ghosts are like, what have I done to deserve this?
So, question for you both: How
God.
much do you think Young was paid for this hit?
Well, because you asked,
it's 2005, so $2,005.
It's gonna be a ridiculously low amount of money.
I mean,
murder.
My guess, just judging by his level of expertise, $25.
Okay, well, I was gonna say
a little
like
higher.
What, 10 grand to kill someone?
Not even that. I don't think.
It would later be revealed that Young had carried out this crime on the orders of Gino Galestro in exchange for $8,000.
Jesus fucking Christ! I was
dollar
close.
rule.
Yeah, that was close. That was
Price
good.
is Right rule.
But that is really fucking sad.
Well, and also at the time that this is going down, again, which is like, I don't know, I have to say this, never join the mob.
Right.
I just have to tell
a reminder,
your listeners,
put
the
it out
Whining
there.
Crack listeners,
Yep.
you're like, oh, should I get into forensics or become in the mob,
It's a classic Sophie's choice.
Yeah.
Yes. So Galestro at this time, that this hit was going down, was about to be sentenced for a loan sharking conspiracy. So it actually took some time before they could piece all this together of like who hired him, who all this stuff. Because like, again, the entire ladder of which you're, joining the mob part of is sort of crumbling at this time. And it was actually Robert McKelvey's sister that filed the missing persons report several days later. And they were able to find Robert McKelvey because he had a tattoo of a bird. Doesn't say which bird.
Just a bird.
And sorry, I apologize.
Penguin? Was it a sparrow? God.
And I described him as having cargo shorts. He actually had a black sweatsuit on. So
Okay.
true Sopranos fashion.
Yep.
Also,
way
like
better than cargo shorts.
Peak 2005 too.
Yes.
Like sweatsuit,
Bluetooth
bird
earpiece.
tattoo,
I'm just guessing.
Bluetooth earpiece.
Samsung maybe.
Yep. And a Samsung Razr flip phone.
Oh yes, of course.
1000%.
I miss razors.
But what's interesting, again, and we brought this up a little bit earlier, it's like the people, hiring the hit, Gina Galestro and Robert McKelvey, they're all in New York City. So why would the police basically didn't know where to look because it was like, why would Staten Island's all the far away. So
Right.
Basically the body of McKelvey was undiscovered for months, basically, essentially. And so, according to the New York Times, while Mr. McKelvey had been missing for more than a year at this point, his neighbors had a few fond memories. And so his across the street neighbor minced no words when she told the reporter, "We're not sorry to see him go." So,
oh my God.
the fondest of memories.
Wow.
That's rough.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's gone, but he was an asshole, so whatever.
It's what it's.
Good riddance.
So it wasn't until over a year after his sister reported him missing that one of these accomplices who had been present for the murder, began cooperating with the FBI as part of another case and revealed the grisly details of what happened at the Chrysler mansion. So
if that person hadn't turned.
Yeah, stool pigeon.
Yeah. But they never have known.
But that almost, and again, I don't know anything about the mob. I haven't seen all of The Sopranos, but I feel like isn't the point of having people there to help is to implicate everyone enough that nobody would say anything? Right. I feel like if you just have somebody standing there watching, you just have a witness. These are questions. If you're part of the mob, please write in.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Email us. Email
Anonymously, of course.
Yeah. And so in response to these revelations, this one of these three accomplices, I'm sure they were probably helping out with other things, probably the larger issues. And then they're like, oh, by the way, that McKelvey guy, I watched him get awkwardly and drawn outly
killed,
murdered.
And his bones are in a furnace at this random Victorian haunted mansion. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the cops are like, j'excuse? Fucking what?
So in response to these revelations, FBI agents searched the home and conducted forensic tests searching for traces of McKelvey's blood. And they were able to recover enough evidence to arrest Young and charge him. So, I mean, it seems pretty open and shut in that sense that like, yeah, nobody like the sort of convenience of, hey, we have this place that nobody can go to means I doubt there was as much cleanup. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, why is the pond all disrupted?
Right,
it's like, I don't know, some like dogs and birds got in there.
Pesky kids.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Teens trying to fuck in the pool, you know, whatever, in the fountain.
Youths.
But so Young pleaded not guilty, and his lawyer emphasized his lack of a criminal record. His three accomplices, who I'm now naming, John Tuffarelli, Jose Garcia, and Stefan Cisal. Oh, they're all like, you know, French, you know, Spanish and Italian.
I like it.
All the romantic languages as accomplices were also arrested and charged. So I guess maybe, you know, it doesn't say here, you know, who ratted him out or wherever to the
right,
FBI.
and we also don't necessarily know like the sentences for each of these other people. So if one person turned on the rest, they might have gotten they might have still been charged and arrested, but gotten a lighter sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like a thing where they do that so it's not like obvious who like, glad you didn't rat them out. Like, you know, it's like, you know, just like all sweaty, just like, yeah, exactly. So, and it blows my mind because there is a little bit of a timelessness of this story, but when the case finally went to trial in the fall of 2008, Young admitted to taking part in several other crimes on the orders of the Bonanno crime family, but still insisted that he had not killed McKelvey. He also stated that he had taken part in the dismembering and disposing, but had not taken part in the murder.
Okay.
But I mean,
okay,
you're just like just let your lawyer. Okay. I didn't read this part, but this is very exciting. So, at this point, McKelvey is again the insisting, or no, not McKelvey. At this point, Young, forever young. So at this point, Young is still insisting that it's this thing of like, if you're circling the drain at some point. Like, okay, I was there.
Yeah.
You know, I helped dismember him.
But I didn't stab him a bunch of times and then fail and then drown him in the pond. That wasn't me.
I helped dispose of the body, but I didn't murder him.
Yeah, that was Tuffarelli. That wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
And then
one of the other love languages.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'm imagining is the greatest day of this prosecutor's life.
Oh, God.
You know, Young is on the stand again, trying to say, hey, like I helped, but I didn't do it. The prosecutor is like, hey, what did you list your occupation as on your MySpace?
Oh, no.
And then Young, I guess, according to the court records, awkwardly responded, death?
No.
Yes.
My occupation is death?
Like he listed himself essentially as an assassin.
On your
on his MySpace.
On MySpace.
Oh, that's the most like early 2000s shit.
Oh,
and that's funny because even by 2008, MySpace was like on its way out. Like
no, that's when you were transitioning to Facebook. And yeah.
You're
that's
like late stage terminal MySpace.
Yeah,
at that point.
Yeah, MySpace was terminal for sure.
and
it was transitioning to like only being a music platform, and then that was its like dying, rattling death wheeze, and then it was gone.
My six MySpace, my top 8, Gino Galestro, Death, Tom. So yeah, this story
John Tuffarelli.
This is the part where the story goes from timeless to immediately dated.
Oh no.
And so Young was ultimately found guilty of murder and racketeering and sentenced to life in prison.
Well,
bummer.
And wouldn't you guess, this place wasn't going to become a retirement home after that?
Yeah. What is it now then?
This does not look like a retirement home. It looks like a spirit Halloween.
Oh my god.
Well, it's funny that you say that.
Dream.
Basically, nothing could, it's funny because it was almost like Yomatavian was like, we want to, restore the historicalness to this. And essentially they did, because it became a haunted mansion again. Because now you have this new murder that sort of prevented it from becoming anything. It didn't turn into a Jersey Mike's, and then there's like an AT&T store, and then
a Jersey Mike's subs in this stunning Victorian mansion.
Do you want it toasted?
Ooh, an Orange Julius, like
an Orange Julius.
I went to an Orange Julius in Hawaii because I was like, there's no more of these left. I had to go.
I have one like near my house.
Oh yeah, there's one in Des
jealous.
Moines if you want to come visit.
Come to the Midwest if you miss Orange Julius.
Oh, I will.
DQ is king out here.
Oh, that's right. It's part of DQ now. Mm-hmm. But so the mansion basically just kind of, it was almost like this like little gasp before then it was like, all right, cool. We're just going to become another haunted mansion again.
Right.
Great. Great.
But in 2017, the mansion was listed for sale at an asking price of $2 million. What did you say it was now?
Like seven and a half or something. But $2 million's a steal. The fact that nobody snatched that up in 2017 for $2 million, that's nuts.
And then
kicking themselves now.
Yeah.
But it didn't sell, and then he tried to sell it last year for another 7.4 million.
There you go.
Again, just like I don't know what to do, but
and what a jump! I mean, from 2017 to 2021, that's not that much time, and it went from $2 million to $7.5 million. If that's not a reflection of the fucking housing market, I don't know what is.
That's fucking wild.
And so the last things I've saw, and I saw videos on YouTube that they now do a haunted house experience there. So, if you're in the area, go take a look at the Kreischer Mansion.
The biggest reason to go to Long Island.
The only reason, Staten Island, but yeah.
Whatever
Staten
Island.
Wow.
But I'm like, do they incorporate the McKelvey murder? Because I could see
it's like too recent.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh.
But it is part of the history.
It is.
Because, I think of like Hollywood Horror Nights or Not Scary Farm here in Southern California, where you do several types of, you do
Not Scary Farm.
Not Scary Farm. You have like, because like last year they did a great, oh my God, what's the spinning head?
Exorcist.
There was a great Exorcist maze last year. This year they're doing a Jordan Peele like cinematic universe thing.
Whoa. Nope.
They're doing a weekend, like the musicians doing like a haunted house thing. Like in a way, I feel like this mansion now has sort of an opportunity to sort of diversify their hauntings, where you could have it like you could go through the history. So you're like you start in Victorian factory era, and then you end at like. You go into one room and it's more like a
MySpace
modern
page.
Or you end with Nope, the
yes,
big
exactly.
like pulsating box.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which
Don't
was
give it
actually
away.
It ends in an
horrifying.
Orange Julius.
So scary. Yes.
In a Jersey Mike's.
God.
So that is the Kreischer Mansion and the McKelvey murder.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Good
Thank
job,
you,
Steven. Thank you.
I don't know
Well,
I'm dancing right now.
I really like this voguing that you're doing over here. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. I didn't super get it with the topic. When do I ever?
You
I was
misunderstood the assignment.
Well, I was like, am I supposed to do crimes that take place in autumn? Am I supposed to do crimes that are like autumn adjacent? I don't know. So I guess like Steven's case was autumn adjacent, like a haunted house. So I think my thing still fits.
Yeah.
My case, what we know about it takes place not in autumn, but it does take place in an apple orchard, and that felt autumnal to me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's the connection. Take it or leave it. Here we go.
I'm taking it.
Okay. Orchard Creek Ranch is outside of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and it's absolutely stunning. It is nestled in the valleys of the Rockies. So like in the fall, the orchard is in like full bloom with all of these apples, and it's very green and lush, but then the leaves are starting to turn on the mountains behind it. Like it's very
golden hills.
Yes, it's very, very, very beautiful.
Nice.
The ranch offers apple picking and horseback rides. It's like a perfect family spat. But in June of 2009, the orchard was not the backdrop of an idyllic, family summer day, but an incredibly grisly scene. On June 12th, a ranch hand was cleaning up refuse along the outer edge of the property, which was adjacent to Creek Canyon Road and just a little bit off of not a major highway, but a pretty big county road that ran by. So they often would just skirt the perimeter and pick up trash. While he was doing that, he stumbled upon what appeared to be bagged garbage.
It's never bagged garbage.
It's never bagged garbage, and it's never a mannequin, as we've learned. If there's one thing that My Favorite Murder has taught us, it's that it's never a mannequin.
No.
So as he approached and went to pick up the bags, which were partially and very obviously intentionally covered with tree branches, he quickly realized that what was contained within these bags was not garbage. So authorities were called, and the bags were discovered to contain human remains so mutilated that the coroner couldn't even determine a cause of death.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. And the remains were not complete. I'm not sure what's missing from the remains. And I'll just spoiler alert, this case remains unsolved. So I don't think they've ever released what's missing on the off chance that they do get a lead. Or and an individual who would know what remains.
Oh, I saw a right leg in the woods.
Maybe someone kept a portion as a trophy. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this a million times, how a tactic in investigations is to release partial details and then see if there are suspects who can fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what portion of this person's remains were discovered and what are missing. So can't answer that question. It would take about a week to positively identify the remains as 38-year-old Janine Ann Joler, and she was able to be identified by her fingerprints because she had been in the system for previous charges.
Oh.
Janine lived in Aurora, Colorado, which was about 3 hours away from the orchard, so not a convenient dump site if you're killed near Aurora, Colorado.
She moved/was moved.
Right. By all accounts, she had a loving family and upbringing, but she did face some serious adversity that changed the trajectory of her life. At the age of 15, she was in a serious car accident that left her permanently disabled both physically and cognitively. So she needed to use a cane. She walked with a limp. She couldn't drive, but she was able to live independently. So she did have some cognitive deficits, but she was able to be independent. As a result of her disability, she struggled to finish school, and by the early 2000s, she was consistently using drugs and alcohol and had developed a substance use disorder. To fund her substance use, she engaged in sex work. So a lot of dangerous and high risk behavior happening here.
Was this all related to her prior charges? Not that it matters, but
her death?
No, all of these behaviors, the alcohol use, the sex work, all this stuff.
So
is that why she was in the system?
Yes, she was in this. That's how they were able to find her in the system, because she did have previous drug and sex work related charges.
Okay.
Yeah, and of the remains that were found, at least one of her hands, which is so horrifying to think about, but was in the bags, and they could run the fingerprints and identify her.
Mm-hmm.
She also had a boyfriend, but their relationship was tumultuous at best. They were on again, off again, constantly, and he had an explosive temper that led to physical violence. So Janine ended up filing a restraining order against him and seemed to be moving in a much healthier direction without this awful man in her life. She started attending AA meetings, so she was getting into recovery. She was reconnecting with her family, and specifically with her mother. She was calling to check in with her mother, Sue, every single day. So her mom was hearing from her all the time, part of her progress, part of her recovery. So this was the most hopeful that Sue and the family had been in a long time when it came to Janine, and that made the news of her violent death all the more earth-shattering for this family. The last anyone had heard from Janine had been in May of 2009. She had been keeping up with her check-ins with her mother, Sue, but was experiencing a pretty severe mental health crisis. And it's believed that she was using again, which could have contributed to the escalation of her crisis. This crisis resulted in Janine's hospitalization, but she was not keen on being there. She did not want to stay. She was like talking to her mom. Sue is begging her to stay in the hospital, but Janine's an adult. She didn't want to stay.
Yeah.
And after she stayed there one night and then left and like hadn't told Sue that she was leaving. Sue called the hospital because she hadn't heard from her daughter. And the hospital was like, oh, she checked herself out. God, that fucking fly. I have to kill that fly. So Janine's gone. Sue doesn't know where she is. As I said before, Janine didn't drive. So someone had picked her up and brought her to her apartment. The hospital didn't know who. She's an adult. She didn't need like a bunch of continuing care. So it's not really, you know, I saw some comments on some articles that were like, why wouldn't the hospital know like who is picking her up? It's like, this is a 38-year-old woman with the majority of her faculties. She's able to be independent.
It's not something that needs to be tracked.
No,
typically.
and it wouldn't be. Like, how many times have
Yeah,
I
I was
been
gonna
in
say.
the hospital for a couple days and then, like, Bill can't pick me up, so Scott comes and picks me up. Like, nobody gives a fuck who's picking you up from the hospital. Once you're discharged, they don't fucking care about you anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
once you leave those doors, they're not looking out there.
right, exactly. So there were some folks who I could see in the comments, and understandably so, like, getting frustrated at the lack of information. But it's like, this is an adult woman who is not... The details of her life aren't being tracked.
Yeah, put yourself in that position.
Exactly.
Does
There
the
wasn't a
hospital
parental
need to
permission
track?
slip, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't need to be signed out. She was able to leave of her own accord.
Mm-hmm.
So someone picked her up from the hospital. We don't know who, and brought her back to her apartment. Her neighbors confirmed that Janine had returned home. They saw, like, people saw her, but that at least one person said that she left again in the middle of the night, and that this was the last time anyone had seen her alive. So like I said, Janine didn't drive, so someone had to have come and picked her up from her apartment in the middle of the night. Or maybe she could have taken some kind of public transportation, but I think a witness said, like, someone was outside smoking, saw Janine, she gets in a car with somebody, nobody knows who it is, she's a fucking adult, she goes on her way. People are minding their own business. So we have no idea who brought her home from the hospital, and we have no idea who picked her up at her apartment later that night. Could be the same person, could be different people. And she also could have, I mean, she was in crisis. She was likely using again. She could have been engaging in sex work again. It could have been a John that came to meet her. She could have been selling sex, and a John came to pick her up. They went off, and nobody saw her again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was May 1st of 2009. And after 6 days went by without any word from Janine, who previously had been like calling her mom every day, a missing persons report was filed on May 7th. Investigators immediately started looking into her boyfriend because, you know, she'd had a restraining order on the record. There was other police intervention on the record due to their incidents of domestic violence, like neighbors calling the cops, things like that. So this is like a natural first step. They're like, what the fuck did you come and do something to her?
Well, they always look at the significant other anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. However, the boyfriend could not have been the one to pick up Janine either from the hospital or from her apartment on the night that she disappeared, because he was in jail at that time.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm not sure what he had done, but he wasn't in prison. He was in jail. He probably got picked up on some stupid charges, and he was held for a couple days.
But there's solid alibi. He
Yep.
was in custody.
Correct. He was in custody. It could not have been him.
Yeah, that's weirdly the most solid alibi you can have almost.
I know.
You know,
It's
other
like,
than
thank
being on live television or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking that movie Long Shot always comes to mind. It's like
Love that
someone on
movie.
camera. This
But
fucking
also
fly.
sometimes people are scheduled to be in jail or prison for a certain length of time, and then they're released early. And like,
True.
there are a lot of instances that I can think of that they're like, oh, we
interesting.
thought he was in jail, but he actually wasn't.
Sure.
Ooh.
But this was confirmed. He
Okay.
was in jail. This alibi is solid. He is no longer a person of interest.
I do love The Long Shot, though.
I know that movie's so good.
Unbelievable.
So the big challenge here was a complete lack of evidence and an abundance of possible suspects, as Janine was a sex worker and had frequent bouts with drugs. This put her in proximity to a lot of high-risk people, specifically men, like all the time. So investigators interviewed a fuck ton of people, like all of Janine's friends and family, local known Johns in the Aurora area, even like transient unhoused individuals who may have seen or interacted or maybe used with Janine in the last like month before her disappearance. But no matter how many stones were turned over, nothing seemed to be revealed.
Oh,
I know. Investigators also had a severe lack of evidence in like any capacity because they didn't find any fingerprints on the bags that were wrapped around Janine's remains. No DNA on the body that could be linked to a suspect. It was just her DNA. So this person, whoever dismembered her, was very careful. They didn't find hair. And this is like 2009. It's not like this is the 60s and we don't know what we're looking for. It's like they know how to look for DNA.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing under her fingernails. Like they're not pulling anything useful at least.
Oh.
Furthermore, the orchard where her remains were found was determined not to have been the murder site because there was like no blood or anything there to indicate that she had been killed anywhere on the property. It was just the bags were found. So it was only a dump site for her remains, meaning there's no additional blood, there's no additional DNA, there's no like a cigarette butt that maybe could be traced to somebody. Like
no maroon fibers.
No maroon fibers. There's no solid evidence that could be collected at the orchard.
Okay.
So Thomas Williams, a local who lived near the orchard, said, quote, "It looked to me like somebody pulled up to the road going up Canyon Creek and just threw the bags off on the side of the road, and it ended up in the orchard." So most likely Janine was killed in the Denver metro area where she often sold sex. The case went completely cold within a handful of months.
Oh, God.
Yeah, really fucking tragic. Years later, in 2014, the investigations division at the Garfield County Sheriff's Office found itself with a mostly new team. So people had retired, new people are working there. And investigator Megan Allstat and a commander reread the entire case file, audited the evidence, re-interviewed people that had been spoken to in 2009, but no, any possible leads that they investigated all went to the same dead ends. Like reviewing all of the former evidence didn't fucking show anything.
Dang.
It's still a completely like ghost situation.
Well, you mentioned that idea of like that whoever threw her body off. But in my head, I'm like, maybe it's just because of the theme, but like this idea of like an apple orchard seems like a pretty like, my first head is like, was it somebody who used to work there or somebody who had been there once
weird.
And was like,
and it's
I remember this place
away.
is very isolated. Yeah. So like my head immediately went to there, and I don't know if it again is just how we framed it, but it just was like, I just think of like, if you're going to dump a body anywhere, you could dump it anywhere, but it's just like, was there somebody who maybe worked there once or had been there once?
Is there a connection? And also it's not like this is a super remote place. Like this is a tourist, maybe not like a booming tourist attraction, but it's a fucking idyllic apple orchard in like the valleys of the Rockies where like families go to ride horses and pick fucking apples. It's not like a creepy abandoned farm in the middle of nowhere. It's almost like they wanted the remains to be found.
It's like a destination almost.
Yeah, and
because as Steven said, it was so fucking far away from where
it's far
she
away. It's 3 hours from where she was picked up.
It's like too specific and not specific enough.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
it
weird.
makes no fucking sense. It's really weird. And then like, one of the big main theories is, a John picked her up, solicited sex from her. There was an altercation that ended in her death, her murder, and then this was how they disposed of the evidence. But like, what? I don't know. Usually if it's like a sloppy, kind of in the moment, spontaneous rando who was just trying to buy sex on this, like from a sex worker, to be this meticulous and this careful to not leave a shred
that's a great
of identifiable evidence or DNA
and take her 3 hours away
like it feels more targeted than that. And the dismemberment and the fact that remains are missing, like enough remains for well, I mean, we don't know where they are, but like
they might have been
They might have been.
Reserved.
Enough remains are missing for it to have been newsworthy in every article I read to say that she was not found like complete.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that it's not like a fragment here or there are missing. And that tells me that there's like
half.
at least
Everything but this.
Yeah,
was saved.
Right? Like maybe I'm just really fucked up and I've been in this business too long, but that tells me that someone kept like a foot or a head or like something.
The head was my first thought.
Right? Something
I wonder
like
if they looked at other orchards. I mean, that sounds weird to say that, but like, yeah, if it's targeted enough, then maybe it is like, let's leave one here.
Right. And then where do we look? It's like, okay, this woman was picked up from her apartment in Aurora and now her remains showed up, weeks later, 3 hours away. How the fuck do we even like set up a perimeter or a grid
but like,
to even start looking? Like, where do we go?
In terms of like the orchard thing, like what Steven said, imagine like another plot of land that is as literally picked over as an orchard is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It kind of seems like maybe the murderer wanted her to be found because
that's what I think.
You're gonna go to every single tree on this whole property. It's like it's like a cornfield, like some sort of crop field. Yeah, I mean it is.
Yeah.
It's literally you buy tickets to get a bucket to go fill it with fucking apples, and anyone
to get close to the ground and look for things.
Right. Anyone could have stumbled upon those bags of remains. I mean, thank God it was an employee, I guess, but fuck.
If you really don't want someone to be found, it's gonna be
You're
like
not gonna
a dump or like a just forest,
you're
like
not gonna
wild
like
area. It's not gonna be
toss them. Yeah,
cultured areas.
Yeah,
but it could speak to the sort of maybe the more randomness of it, where maybe it is just coincidence and all these things where some a John accidentally murdered her or, in rage or in passion. And then it's just like, fuck, I'll drive. And then just threw it and without thinking. And that's because an orchard would seem like the worst place to put somebody.
And
doesn't mean he knew that's where he was throwing her.
True.
Obviously, we're just speculating wildly at this point because this case is completely cold. We have no idea. But another thought I had is like, okay, this person was visiting the Denver area. They purchased sex from Janine. Something went wrong. This person killed her, and then, like maybe on their way out of town.
Well, to your point, I mean, Denver is a highly visited. The airport is, and I've only been to Denver a couple of times, but does seem like a place where if you live in Denver, you actually are driving to all those other cities, Aurora or Boulder, like.
Yeah.
Because of the way the state is, it's like you kind of go to, like, it isn't that out of question to, like, do those drives either.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, all of that speculation to say, like, this is truly one of those needle in a haystack cases, which are my least fucking favorite. It's so fucking sad. I just hate it. And Garfield County authorities keep telling Sue and the family that, like, Janine's case is solvable, but now it's been over 13 years and no progress has been made. So her remains, this part is so fucking sad. As I mentioned before, all of which were not recovered, are still in police custody.
Ugh.
Which means that poor Sue and Janine's family have not had a proper burial for their loved one. So her mother hopes one day she'll get the remains back and be able to give her daughter a final resting place. She said in an interview, quote, "I'd like to have a headstone and a place to go pay our respects. Let her know that she is still remembered and loved." And like to this day, she's driving, like she lives in the Denver area and she's driving 3 hours basically when she misses her daughter to visit this orchard where her daughter's remains were left because it's the only like place of memorial that she has right now and has had for 13 years to like commune with her daughter. Wow. Which just fucking broke my heart.
Found.
Yes.
God.
In such a violent and horrific way. I mean, it's just, I can't even imagine that level of grief that this woman must be going through.
No.
So this is really fucking sad. It's not wrapped up in a neat little bow, but I want this case to be solved so badly. And I'm not saying that like talking about it on this podcast will do that, but I just wanted to share it because if you're listening to this and like maybe had seen her or saw something, or someone you know saw something. Like, it's that whole idea that like someone knows something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you were in the Aurora area around 2009 and you might have seen something, like, come forward. Some of the details that were in the kind of FBI flyer is that Janine had like pretty identifiable tattoos. She had a tattoo on her right shoulder of a lion face, a tattoo on her left shoulder of a tiger face, a tattoo on her left hip of a small rose. She had a tattoo on her right, on both hips of roses. She had a scar on her abdomen. Like, she was a fairly identifiable person. She's a white woman. She was blonde. There will be photos of her on the drive. But if for some reason, you know, somebody gets drunk at a family function and says something weird about this case, like, who knows? Things that could seem like nothing can sometimes be something. So if you have any information, call the Garfield County Sheriff's Office investigator, Megan Allstat, She's still working there, still working this case. And the phone number is 970-665-0222. And we'll put that on the blog as well. You can also just call the Garfield County Crime Stoppers line at 970-945-0101. And that is my very sad, not at all cool haunted house, unsolved, tragic apple orchard case.
Well, you got
sorry, guys.
Orchard was on the nose. But,
I really crushed it with that apple orchard.
You
though.
really crushed it with the orchard.
I'm still thinking about her cane, though. I mean, have they located that? I'm just, again,
I know, right? Like, where the fuck is it?
Because yes, I know I have friends who use canes, and it's like they would never leave home without it. Right. You know, that sort of thing. And I mean, I'm sure it's whatever is going on with.
It might be a good clue as to like where she was last alive and walking.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Or if it's still in possession, you know, maybe the person still has it, you know, which is very unsettling.
Yeah. Ugh. And I mean, and I didn't see anything in my research about whether or not it was left behind. The only reason I could fathom her leaving the cane behind, and I don't know the extent of her mobility without the cane, but the only thing I could fathom is that, like, if she was meeting a John in the parking lot, just had to get to his car, then go, you know, do work, and then be dropped back off, and then just have to walk back inside, I could see her leaving it at home. But I don't know. And again, the fact that detail, like, they made it clear that she used a cane, but then didn't say whether or not the cane has been recovered or where the cane is.
It's one of those police details.
It makes you wonder if it is one of those details that they're withholding on the off chance that it could become evidence.
Yeah, like, oh, you found a cane? What color is it?
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why typically I don't like to cover these unsolved cases, because there are so many unknowns. But I just really hope and pray that this family gets some answers, because I mean, that's the worst part, is the not knowing.
Yes, absolutely.
So God bless, and special thanks to Lily Cox for sending us down this fallen trail.
Oh, no.
I tried.
This autumnal rabbit hole.
This rabbit's den.
Well, thank you, Lily, and also thank you to Stephen Ray Morris for joining us tonight.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This was thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could hold down Kenyon Stead a little bit.
Yeah, amazing.
For at least one of the weeks that you know.
Yeah, where her body's being,
you know, having a baby, whatever. You know.
Right. No big deal.
Tell the people where they can find your work.
We can always find me at Stephen Ray Morris on all the things. Obviously the Purrrcast and See Jurassic Right. My favorite murder. You know, exactly right. Whatever.
Etc.
Yeah.
He's pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
Eternally online. Infernally online.
Same.
And thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.